USC, welcome to the Big Ten. Your first conference game will come on the road against the reigning national champions. But this may not be as difficult of a game as you once thought. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. Ready to break down this big top 20 matchup. Number 11 USC at number 18 Michigan. Our analysis and prediction. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. And of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of our exclusive expert picks. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Beating out over 80% of the national handicappers, not just this year, but each of the last 6 years. So if you want to win big with us for one of the lowest prices in the country for a full year-long subscription, it's a one-time fee, low fee I should add, for a full 365 days, this is the place for you. Go sign up today. Take advantage of it now before week 4 really gets underway. We want you to sign up and become a member of our GE Nation. Again, the link for that down in the description below. So let's dive into this game, guys. You know, back in the preseason, we didn't really know what to expect from either team. Was USC, coming off a disappointing 2023 season, going to be able to immediately contend in the Big Ten? Was Michigan going to once again remain a college football playoff contender after losing so much on both sides of the ball? I think both the answers to those things would be yes and no. Yes, USC is a legitimate contender of the Big Ten this year, and no, Michigan does not look like a college football playoff contender, despite all the losses they may have faced. You take a look at the offense, and we'll start with USC. This is a good offense, and it really shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody because Lincoln Riley is their head coach. Riley is the quarterback whisperer. Everywhere he has been, he has a talented offense. And yes, the Trojans have only played 2 games, but one of them was a neutral site win over a solid LSU team. They're averaging nearly 500 yards per game, including 336.5 through the air. Miller Moss looked great in the bowl game last year. We wondered how he would translate to the full-time starter now. He's looked great, go figure. 607 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's done a great job spreading out the ball. 14 players for USC have caught at least 1 pass this year. And the run game, surprisingly, has been pretty solid for USC. Woody Marks, the transfer running back in from Mississippi State, has rushed for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. Quentin Joyner is averaging 6.9 yards per carry. And there is no doubt entering this game that USC owned the significant, and I mean that, significant offensive advantage over Michigan. Why? Because Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. Michigan does not have a quarterback. J.J. McCarthy departed to the NFL, and it's like they had no one else waiting in the wings, right? All offseason long, it was a quarterback battle in Ann Arbor. We didn't know who they were going to start, and then it kind of surprised a lot of us when Sherrone Moore decided to start Davis Warren in week 1 against Fresno State. That was not a good choice. Warren has thrown for 444 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. That includes 3 interceptions last week in just a 10-point home victory over Arkansas State. Now, they're switching quarterbacks from Warren to Alex Orji, who has just 6 attempts all year long. Yes, we know he is dangerous with his legs. He's more of a dual-threat quarterback, but that's not going to cut it. You can't only run Orji in this game against USC. He's going to have to deliver through the air, and that's something that we haven't seen him do in very limited time. This is a team, guys, in Michigan that's only averaging 329 yards per game. The run game, which we thought would be a strength, is kind of struggling too. They're averaging 176 rushing yards per game, which is great, but that's been stat padded a little bit. Because last week against Arkansas State, one of the worst rushing defenses in the country, the Wolverines had 301 rushing yards, but in the 2 weeks prior against Fresno State and Texas, the Wolverines had just 228 rushing yards combined. Donovan Edwards graced the cover of College Football 25, but has looked nothing like a cover athlete, only 150 yards on the year. Khalil Mullings has 270 rushing yards on the year, but this Michigan offense lacks consistency, they lacked efficiency, and they really lack an identity. They don't have an answer at quarterback. They don't have a competent passing attack. The running game can only do so much. It's really been very lackluster this year. And making that quarterback switch in a game like this, making that quarterback switch in your first big test of the year, I mean, second really if you count Texas, but first conference game of the year is really not ideal. And it's really not ideal even more so when you realize that they're facing a USC defense that's a lot better than people think. And we're going to break down both defenses here in 1 second. But real quick, a word from our sponsor. We've got a new sponsor for the show this season, Chris Gates Fitness and his online fitness training camp. Training Camp is a monthly fitness program designed specifically for football fans, and it's like nothing I've ever seen before. With hundreds of different workouts and exclusive content such as the calorie calculator and, my personal favorite, the low-calorie, high-protein tailgating cookbook, Training Camp is a must for any football fan looking to get or stay in shape. With Chris as your coach, you'll get top-notch guidance. He's been coaching people online since 2018, and like all of you watching, he's a die-hard football fan. His clients consistently get results by implementing a flexible approach to diet and exercise. So if you're interested in getting brand new workout programs every month, fitness challenges every month to push you to develop healthy habits, challenges within the Training Camp community like weekly football pick'ems, access to live Q&As where you can get direct, personalized support from Chris with your health and fitness, and the support of a community of people there to encourage you every step of the way, you need to visit chrisgatesfitness.com/gridironexpert, the link down in the description below. Learn more, sign up today, and use our promo code GRIDIRON to get your first month for just $10. And again, make sure to go check out Chris Gates and his online training camp. They've got their September Steps Challenge. The winner gets a free treadmill, and they've got a weekly football pick'em going on. The earlier you get on that, the better. The winner each week gets some free prizes, including some really, really nice supplements for you guys that are trying to work on that body. So go check it out. The link for that down in the description below. But USC, man, we'll take a look at their defense. You know, this is a team that historically, really more so, not just USC, it's really Lincoln Riley, right? Lincoln Riley teams historically don't have a good defense. They didn't have one at Oklahoma. They haven't had one the last few years at USC. This year it could change because he finally got rid of his buddy in Alex Grinch and hired a competent defensive coordinator in D'Anton Lynn. And he was phenomenal at UCLA last year, and he's already working wonders with the Trojans this year. USC is allowing just 305 total yards per game, only 102 rushing yards per game through 2 games. Again, they've only played LSU and Utah State, but those defensive numbers are phenomenal. Their last game against Utah State, again, I know it's a weak opponent. USC posted their first shutout since 2011. Think about that. Their first shutout since 2011. D'Anton Lynn is already doing some unheard of things out in LA. And if you're USC, if you walk into this game, if you're walking into the big house, a place that can be won at, Texas just proved that a few weeks ago, your key is stopping the run. Take away the run game. Do you really think any quarterback on Michigan's roster can beat you through the air? If I'm USC, I don't think so. Alex Orji can't do it. Davis Warren can't do it. Jack Tuttle can't do it. There is nobody on Michigan's roster right now on their quarterback depth chart that if I'm USC, I am scared of throwing the ball. They haven't shown us anything through 3 games. They're not going to show us that in week 4. So if you're USC, stop the run. That does include Orji and his ability to run the ball at quarterback. You've got to be able to contain him. Don't allow him to go wild on you. But if you stop the run, you're going to be looking really, really good if you are USC. Michigan, on the other hand, this is supposed to be their strength, right? Yes, they lost a bunch of starters on that side of the ball, but we still expected Michigan to have a pretty strong defense. But that hasn't really been the case. The Wolverines have allowed at least 244 yards of offense in all 3 of their games. It includes the games against Arkansas State and Fresno State. They've only posted 4 sacks this season, only 3 forced turnovers this season, and in their lone true test, that Week 2 game at home against Texas, they allowed 246 passing yards and 143 rushing yards. They allowed the Longhorns to go in there and do whatever the heck they wanted to do, allowed Texas to come in there and have an extremely balanced attack, and honestly, that's what USC is going to want to do. This is a USC team that obviously wants to throw the ball, obviously has a great quarterback in Miller Moss, but they're not going to complain if Miller Moss can kind of take the day off and allow Woody Marks or whoever it is to run the ball very effectively nonstop against his Michigan defense. So Michigan's got to find a way to make USC one-dimensional. The scary thing is if you take away the run, we know Miller Moss can absolutely torch them through the air. What Michigan's got to find a way to do is force USC into mistakes. This is a very tough environment for Miller Moss, right? He hasn't really seen the field much. He played in the bowl game at the end of last year. It looked great. Played at another neutral site in week 1 against LSU. Looked great. But this is a true road environment for a young quarterback in Miller Moss. Will the big house rattle him a little bit? Michigan is certainly hoping that's the case. They've got to force him into mistakes. They've got to force some turnovers. And they've got to put their offense in a position where they can take advantage of those turnovers. An interception, on their own 10-yard line does no good if the offense has to go 90 yards. I don't have faith in Michigan being able to do that. If you look at the numbers here, Michigan They scored a handful of touchdowns this year, but 25% of their touchdowns so far this season have come from either defensive touchdowns or when their drive began in their opponent's territory. When their drive began on their opponent's side of the 50, 25% of their touchdowns have been under that criteria. It's not good. It's not good. They've got to find a way to get more of that if they want to beat USC. Because once again, having to go 75, 80, 85 yards, don't really feel that great about it with all the questions surrounding Michigan's offense. I know they did that a handful of times last week against Arkansas State, but that's really not saying much. So force turnovers, force them into mistakes, and either have defensive or special team touchdowns, or make sure if you do force a mistake, that offense is getting the ball in USC territory. So what's going to happen, guys? Top 20 matchup at the Big House, an opportunity for both these teams to kind of set the tone for the rest of the year. Michigan, this is a playoff elimination game. If they lose to USC, that's their second loss of the year, and I'm going to be honest with you, that's not going to be the last. If they lose to USC, can they beat Oregon? Can they beat Ohio State? Could they beat Illinois? I mean, they've got some tough tests down the road. They need this win. They've got to defend home turf, but USC, they win this game. We're starting to talk about the Trojans as potential college football playoff contenders, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I like this USC team a lot in this spot. I can't pick Michigan after what I've seen the last 3 weeks. I can't pick Michigan after the atrocious performance I saw in week 2 at home against Texas. You look at this game, Michigan, I don't believe they can sustain drives. I don't believe they can continuously march down the field from their own 25, their own 30-yard line. I don't believe they're going to be able to consistently keep up with USC's offense. The Trojans own the offensive edge. They own the quarterback edge. That's the most important position on the field in a game like this, and USC's got it by a mile. The defense has improved significantly, and that's great because Michigan, once again, doesn't have that much of an offense to begin with. USC, Lincoln Riley, they'll get creative on offense. They'll be able to exploit a few weaknesses in this Michigan defense. And the Trojans win this game by at least a touchdown at the Big House. Michigan, once again, left searching for a lot of answers, while USC remains undefeated and proves they're not just Big Ten title contenders in their first year in the conference, but also college football playoff contenders as well. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. That includes our expert picks over on thegridironexpert.com, home of some of the best picks in the entire country for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. So go check it out. The link for that down in the description below. Sign up today before the start of week 4. You can promise you do not want to miss out on these picks. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.